After looking at two examples, I think some of you will have a question to ask, which is, why do we sometimes use who and why do we sometimes use which? Why do we use which for the phone and why do we use who for the lady? There is actually some rules to follow. These are called relative pronouns. Relative pronouns are who, which, where, and when. We need to know all these four relative pronouns. When we use who, it is actually very easy because we use who to talk about persons or people. It's like Peter is in love with the girl who won the beauty contest. Now this relative clause who won the beauty contest, who is to refer is to talk about the girl. And because the girl it's a person, and that's why we use who to talk about the girl. As in number 2, we use which to talk about things. Peter proposed to Mary with a ring which he bought in Japan last year. Which is to talk about the thing. And the thing now we're describing is the ring. Peter proposed to Mary with a ring. Which ring? The ring which he bought in Japan last year. Alright, so we're using which to talk about the ring. Next, in number 3, we will use where to talk about places. We're going to celebrate Valentine's Day at a restaurant where we had our first date. The restaurant where we had our first date. Where here is the relative pronoun to talk about the restaurant. Because the restaurant is a place, and that's why we use where to talk about the place, the restaurant. And for the last one, which is number 4, we use when to talk about time. I will always remember the day when I received a white theme gift from Peter. Now we use when to talk about the day because the day is actually a time, and that's why we use when to talk about the day. I will always remember the day when I received a white themed gift from Peter. Let's look at more examples as actually an exercise. What we need to do is to fill in different relative pronouns who, which, where, and when in the blanks below. As number 1, the day. Very obviously the day is time, and that's why we're going to use when. The day when we visited Henry, he met his cousin. Number 2, the postmen are people who deliver letters to people, because postmen are people, and for people we use who. Number 3, Mandarin is the language. Language is a thing, and that's why we use which to talk about the thing, which is the language. Mandarin is the language which most Chinese speak. Number 4, I cannot find a place. When we say a place, it's obviously we use where. I cannot find a place where I can sit. For number 5, a panda. A panda is an animal. For animal here, we need to be careful because animals are not people, and that's why we will not use where. We will not use who. Instead, we say a panda. It's an animal which has black and white fur. Remember, for animal, we will use which. And for number 6, this is the hotel. Hotel is a place, we use where. Hotel, this is the hotel we where our Christmas party will be held. Number 7, children like to keep pets. Our pets, it's like animal, and that's why we use which. Children like to keep pets which are lovely. For number 8, we say a year, because a year is a time, and that's why we use when. The year when I passed the certificate exam, I studied very hard. For number 9, the court. What we talk about court here is actually a basketball court. We say a court where we play basketball. It's on the roof of our school. Because the court is a place, we use where to refer to talk about the court. For number 10, the boy. Because the boy is a person, the boy who lives with the woman, it's her cousin. And for number 11, the office. Because the office is a place, and that's why I say the office where I work is at the end of the street. For number 12, the boy. Again, the boy is a person, so I say the boy who is wearing a cap who is wearing a cap. It's our monitor. Number 13, the flowers. Because the flowers are things, and that's why we say the flowers which you bought are very nice. And then for number 14, the park. The park is a place. We say the park where we used to visit is big. And last one, number 15, the week. Because again, the week is a time. We say a week when we visited Europe, we spent over $30,000. And now we've done some questions about how and which relative pronouns to be filled in to talk about what the nouns. Okay, just remember, when we talk about who, when we talk about people or persons, we use who. When we talk about things, we use which. When we talk about place, we use where. And when we talk about time, we use when.